Hello everyone, and this is Alexander Semenenko from Voronezh. I've graduated from Voronezh State University, history faculty, chair of archaeology and ancient world history, and now I'd like to give a short talk on my just published online ebook. It is in Russian, that's why I've decided to make a short summary, a video report for English speaking viewers or maybe readers, for them to know about this book, because I think this book is important. But before starting the report, firstly I'd like to thank my young daughter Sofia for acting as my video operator, and then I'd like to ask you for to apologize for some possible mistakes in pronunciation or other mistakes, because English is not my native tongue and I'm just an English-speaking person. So now I'd like to begin. So the book, please, Sophia. The book is called in Russian «Эталон колесничного погребения» или «Почему урало-казахстанские погребения с повозками эпохи бронзы не являются колесничными». I will translate. The model of the chariot burial, or why are Ural-Kazakhstan burials with the cards of the Bronze epoch not chariot burials. So this book consists of two parts. It has in total it has 677 pages, but most part of the book are illustrations. There are 575 illustrations in the book, and only the first part is some 120 pages of text. So the text is dedicated to the problem of interpretation of the so-called, or I call them pseudo chariot burials of sинташты-петровки-алакуля or Andronova archaeological cultures of the Bronze epoch of southern Urals and Kazakhstan. The most part of the book is the catalog of chariots depictions and chariot surviving details. As I've already told you, there are 575 illustrations. Not all of them, of course, I was possible to insert into the book, because there are some limits for the ebooks on Academia Edu site for uploading such monographs. And I think that the evidence is enough, and geographically and culturally and chronologically very wide, to prove my conclusions, to prove my statements. Of course, I could make several volumes of illustrations of different chariots, thousands of coins with chariot depictions, ancient Greek, Roman, East Mediterranean, for example Persian, then several hundreds of antique vases with chariot depictions, mostly of course Greek, but some Etrurian also. There are numerous ancient Egyptian relief scenes, battle scenes of Ramses II, for example, with his Kadesh battle cycle. in many temples throughout Europe, throughout Egypt, and so on. So I just couldn't put them all into this illustrative part of this book. But the illustrations I have made, I think they are enough to demonstrate my statements, to prove them correct. So, about the book. There is a dedication to Sherabin the Khosh, whom I regard as my scientific teacher. And then we have the dedication and some words about one of my archaeology teachers, Professor Pryahin. He was one of the eminent Soviet and post-Soviet Russian archaeologists specializing in the bronze archaeology of the Eurasian forest and steppe cultures. He was one of the creators of the pseudo chariot, as I call it, myth, pseudo-scientific myth of the chariot character of the cultures of the archaeological cultures of the Bronze Age of Eurasia in the steppes of the last centuries of the third and the second millennia of BC. So among them are Abasheva culture, then sintashta-petrovka-alakula, Andron. So there was a pause, then I repeat. Among them are Abasheva, Sintashta, Petrovka, Alakula, Andronova, Srubne, archaeological cultures, and many people think, and many scholars, dozens of scholars, of Russian-speaking scholars and many English-speaking scholars, I know some French-speaking scholars, German-speaking scholars, and so on. They state and think that they had, those people, the creators of those archaeological cultures, they had chariots. Moreover, they had battle chariots, and there were chariot armies, so-called, or at least some chariot troops of so-called Aryas, of the steppe Aryas, or proto-Aryan groups, or so-called proto-Iranian, proto-Indo-Aryan, and so on. And they moved from there to Europe, Southern Europe, Greece, Italy, Spain, France as Gallic tribes, and so on, Central Europe as German tribes, and so on, Slavic. Then to Syria and Mesopotamia, Iraq, Turkey, Transcaucasia, as Mitanni Aryans, and so on. Then to Iran as future Iranians, then to South Asia as future Indo-Aryans, then through Tarim Basin and through Mongolia to China as future Shan leaders, and so on, so-called. I think that, and I state that these, they also state that these cultures were stratified, that they were special, the people, professional warriors, chariot chiefs, and so on. And all this, I think, is a pseudo-scientific myth. And it is based mostly on... it is groundless. It is based mostly on the interpretation of some 25 burials of sintashta-petrovka-alakula Andronova cultures with the traces of wheels with axle and hub, and one or two times with some traces of wood from bottom of the box or body of the chariot. But I propose my own definition of chariot. Chariot is a cart drawn by horses or some other equids or even bulls with two wheels. Wheels can be solid or with spokes. It must necessarily have body or chariot box, a body, or a system of railings, but they and this moment is very important for identification the cart as a true standing chariot. If a cart has a stand or a body or chariot box high enough with a special handle to take it, to grasp it while moving, while turning, while stopping the chariot, while jumping in the chariot, not to fall down, not to fall from the chariot. It must be. If there is no such detail in the chariot, if there is no high enough chariot box or body or a special stand or a special railing, we can't say for sure that this is a chariot, a true chariot. How do I make this definition? I have studied several hundreds and even thousands of different depictions of chariots from many regions of the world, starting from Far East, China, and throughout Eurasia and so-called Old World up to Atlantic Europe, and chronologically starting from Bronze Epoch up to, say, 500 year AD. The fall of the Roman Empire and the starting of the Byzantine Empire. What is more important, the second definition I propose is the so-called the definition of the model chariot burial or standard chariot burial. Or we may say ideal chariot burial, but it is not ideal, it is standard, it is model. What do I call a model chariot burial? I can show you, it is very simple. There are three main types of these burials. For example, Chinese chariot burials, they are called chema-ken, or a pit with a horse and a chariot. And when we study these chema-kens, we see very clearly the traces of all three necessary elements of any true chariot. We have a shaft, we have axle, with wheels, traces of spokes, we have the traces of the body or the box of the chariot, but what is more important, we have the traces of special railing, for example in here, that enables the charioteer to stand while holding this railing, while moving, while turning, while stopping the chariot, not to fall from the chariot, not to fall under the hoofs of the horses, not to hurt himself and so on. And these are ideal or standard or model, please show this also, chariot burials. We can see very clearly here the traces of the decomposed wood with all most important and necessary elements of the true chariot. There are very many there are numerous true chariot burials, model chariot burials in ancient China. And there are very good photos made by many good people all over the world visiting Chinese museums. For example, this one you can see very clearly, and many others. So this is, for example, this one you can see. All this I discuss in the book. At least those that I was able to find in the scientific literature. The next example of the true chariot burial is Sanauli burial. I am the first Russian scholar to give a public lecture or a scientific report on Sanauli chariot burials. Just in the first months of this year, and I state that they are true chariot burials also. I will show them, but you of course know them. Here they are. Stop, not here, from the beginning. For example, these. You can see very clearly we have no wood details at all, but we have many copper elements of the chariot, and they are very clear. The photographs are very good, and so we can state for sure that this chariot has all necessary elements of a true or of a model chariot, of a standard chariot. 2 wheels, but disc wheels, a shaft, a body of a chariot with sideboards, here and here and here and here, and there is even the reconstruction. I will show it to you, made by Indian archaeologists. So we can see the whole chariot here, almost complete, without some parts of the body, but it doesn't matter in that case. And we have the reconstruction. So you can see all these elements: draft pole, yoke, wheels, sideboard, pipes for canopy or pipes for a stand for a charioteer, wheel with a hub, and so called. So many details. Very interesting. And the second and the last one example of the true chariot burials for me are the Etrurian chariots. They are exhibited in Italy. I know about 2 examples, but probably there are more. This one is from Firenze, Florence, Museo Archeologico Nazionale, Archaeological National Museum of Florence, and they had many bronze details of the chariot to reconstruct it exactly as the chariot, because we have the details of the wheel, of the hub, of the body, of the railing, and we can see very clearly that this reconstruction enables us to state that this is the true chariot, not just a cart, but not just a sitting cart, but a standing chariot. Yes, and the second one is from Vatican Museum, Museo Gregoriano Etrusco in Vatican. It is dated by the middle of the 6th century BC, but it is not important in this case. Again, we see the reconstruction, but it's made using the surviving bronze details of this chariot. So, as you see, there are 3, I know just now, 3 model chariot burials, ancient Chinese chariot burials of different epochs, the earliest Shan epoch, then Zhou epoch, then Qing, Shihuangdi epoch, and then Han epoch. They all have chariot burials, Chemakans. Then we have Sanauli burials, the earliest of all so far, about 1900 BC by radiocarbon dating. And then we have at least two Etrurian chariots from Italy, dated approximately by the 600 BC. What is more important, in China and in Transcaucasia, in Chashen, they found carts with the body drawn by horses, and they had two wheels with many spokes, but they were not true chariots. Why? Because in Chashen they had the opening at the front of the railing system. So there was a railing on the sides and at the back of the cart. So it was not a standing chariot. But at the same time we have bronze depictions of chariots of the same culture, of the same epoch, and we know that there were two kinds of transport, standing chariots, true chariots, and two-wheeled carts drawn by horses with spoked wheels at the same culture at the same time. This is very important, because if a chariot or a cart is decomposed, if the wood is decomposed, what stands in the soil? Only the imprints of the lower part of the wheel. We have no imprints of... I am talking about sинташты-петровки-алакуля Andronova burials now. We have only the imprints of the lower part of the wheel, of the lower third of the wheel. Several times they had traces of spokes. Several times, even less, they have traces of a hub, and one time of a fallow with a leather, with a skin on it, with some bone nails to fix it. One exact, or maybe two times, they have some pieces of decomposed wood from the bottom of the box of the cart. So they have no body of the cart. They have no chariot box. They have no chariot body at all. At all. They have no shaft or pole the same. No. Only the imprints of the wheel, of the third, lowest third of the wheel. That is all.